Trump tapped the gold-plated pen against the table, grinning like a man who had already won. "Bibi," he said, stretching out the name like an old friend. "This is going to be the greatest deal in the history of deals. No more Hamas, no more fighting. Just pure luxury, baby."
Netanyahu gave a slow nod. "And you understand, Donald, that once we sign this, there is no turning back. The world will call it ethnic cleansing. The United Nations will condemn you. The Arab League will declare war on paper."
Trump waved a hand dismissively, already bored. What are they going to do? Nothing. Same as always. I've got the nukes, I've got Elon, I've got half the world's money in my back pocket. They'll scream about it for a few months, then they'll move on. People forget, Bibi.
Miller stepped forward. His pale face was practically glowing with excitement.
"Mr. President, I suggest we call it Operation Freedom Beach."
Trump chuckled.
"Nah, sounds too much like George Bush crap. Let's keep it simple. The Gaza Riviera."
He turned to the camera crew waiting to broadcast his speech to the world.
"All right, boys," he said, flashing his signature thumbs up. "Let's make history."
San Francisco, Tesla headquarters, 9 p.m. Same day. Across the country, in a high-security boardroom inside Tesla's main headquarters, Elon Musk was watching Trump's broadcast on a massive screen. Musk sat with his usual posture, half bored, half predator, his fingers tapping lightly against the edge of a steel desk. When the official announcement came, Trump declaring the Gaza Strip a new U.S. economic zone, Musk smirked.
"Smart," he muttered.
His chief of security, Grayson Vale, leaned forward. "Sir, we're receiving heavy online backlash already. Activists are—"
"Of course they are," Musk interrupted. "Twitter's a daycare for the weak."
Val hesitated.
"There's more. The the Federal Protection Service, says there's a credible terror threat, an anti-Trump group called Real USA.
Musk raised an eyebrow. "That's a stupid name."
They say they have operatives in all 50 states. And they're planning something big."
Musk leaned back, his eyes flashing with amusement. "Let them try."
Real USA Safe House. Location unknown. 10 p.m. In a dark, candlelit room, Jennifer Cape stood at the center of a gathering of revolutionaries. She was 28 years old, her auburn hair pulled into a loose bun, her eyes burning with quiet rage. On the wall behind her, a massive digital screen displayed a live feed of Trump's speech.
Jennifer let the final words ring out. Trump's smug declaration that the Gaza Riviera would be the greatest tourist paradise in the world. Then she turned to her assembled team. Paul, the 22-year-old AI expert, adjusted his glasses, his laptop running encryption software faster than the government could track. Alistair, the British global strategist, crossed his arms. "We have one shot at this. If we fail, Trump will hunt us all down." Jennifer exhaled deeply. "This is not a protest," she said. "This is not a petition. This is a war."
She stepped forward, placing both hands on the table.
"At exactly 9 p.m. next Friday, every single one of you will be in position." Her voice hardened. "Every one of you knows what must be done."
She met each of their eyes in turn.
"Trump wants a war? Let's give him one."
Chapter 2. The First Strike. New York City, Trump Tower, 8:59 p.m. EST. The streets around Trump Tower were their usual blend of chaos and wealth. Black SUVs with tinted windows lined the curbs. Tourists snapped selfies, and uniformed Federal Protection Service, FPS, officers patrolled the perimeter, their rifles slung low but ready. Inside the tower, the penthouse suite glowed with opulence. Gold-plated fixtures, marble floors, a chandelier worth more than most Americans made in a year. Eric Trump was sipping a glass of scotch, laughing at something on his phone. Then the world shook. At exactly 9 p.m., an explosion tore through the base of Trump Tower, shattering windows, sending pedestrians screaming as a fireball erupted into the sky. The ground rumbled, car alarms blared, and thick, black smoke billowed into the night. Inside the suite, Eric Trump was thrown against the wall, his scotch glass shattering as the tower lurched sideways. Security guards burst in, dragging him toward an emergency exit.
"What the hell was that?"
Eric gasped, blood dripping from a cut on his forehead. One of the guards shouted into a radio, "Code Red, Trump Tower has been hit."
San Francisco, Tesla headquarters, 9 p.m. PST. Elon Musk was midway through a high-stakes meeting with top executives when his phone buzzed violently on the table. He glanced down. "Security breach. Evacuate now." Before he could react, the windows shattered inward, and a deafening explosion ripped through the eastern wing of the building. The Tesla logo, glowing bright blue atop the skyscraper, cracked apart, collapsing in a shower of sparks. Musk's AI-driven security systems instantly activated, metal shutters slamming down over doors and windows.
Jesus Christ.
One of his executives gasped, stumbling backward. Musk's face was eerily calm as alarms blared.
They actually did it.
50 states, 50 explosions. Across the country, real USA struck with military precision. Miami, a Trump-branded casino erupted into flames, the neon sign flickering before collapsing. Texas, a SpaceX launch facility was reduced to rubble, leaving behind a crater. Chicago, a Trump hotel lobby caved in as detonations shattered the foundation. Las Vegas, a MAGA headquarters burst into an inferno, sending flaming banners of Trump's re-election campaign into the sky. Every single attack was executed at the exact same moment. By 9:02 p.m., the United States was in full-blown panic mode. Washington, D.C., the White House, 9:05 p.m.
Trump was on his third Diet Coke, watching Newsmax when the first report flashed across the screen. Breaking news. Coordinated attacks across the United States, Trump properties targeted.
His hand froze mid-sip. A second later, Secret Service agents burst into the room.
Sir, we have to move you to the bunker immediately.
Trump slammed his can onto the desk. What the hell is going on?
Mr. President, one agent said, his face pale, we are under attack.
10 p.m., Real USA Safe House, undisclosed location. Jennifer Cape stood in the glow of dozens of screens, monitoring live footage from around the country. She watched as fire consumed Trump's empire, the hotels, the casinos, the corporate offices. She turned to Paul, who sat at his laptop, tracking government responses in real time.
Status?
She asked.
Paul adjusted his glasses. AI surveillance is in full effect. Musk's systems are sweeping government records as we speak. The crackdown is coming fast.
Jennifer nodded, unshaken.
They think they can find us, but we're already 2 steps ahead.
Alistair, arms crossed, watched her carefully.
This is it, he said. We've just changed history. Jennifer took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and turned to her team. We hit him again next week.
Chapter 3. Martial Law. Declared Washington, D.C. The White House, 10:30 p.m. EST. The bunker beneath the White House was built to withstand a nuclear war, but tonight it felt like a cage. Trump sat at the head of a war room table, his face flushed red with rage. Around him stood his inner circle: Jared Kushner, Stephen Miller, Ron DeSantis, and Elon Musk, who had arrived just minutes before. The television screens flickered with live footage from across the country. Flames engulfed Trump Tower in Manhattan. A SpaceX facility in Texas lay in ruins. FBI Director Terrence Cole, one of the few remaining high-ranking law enforcement officials loyal to Trump, stood at attention, grim-faced.
Mr. President, he said, we are facing a domestic insurrection unlike anything in U.S. history. Real USA has carried out 50 simultaneous attacks.
Trump's fist slammed onto the table. 50 goddamn explosions. How the hell did we not see this coming? Musk spoke up, his voice as calm as ever. They weren't using traditional communications. They used satellite phones with AI encryption. They outmaneuvered every system we have. Trump turned to Cole. Then build a new system, he gestured wildly at Musk. Elon, what can your AI do? Musk tilted his head slightly. Neural net can cross-reference federal databases, financial records, online search history, social media, private emails, and encrypted messages. Trump grinned. Perfect. Do it. Scan every American. I want names.
Cole hesitated. Sir, this could mean arresting thousands of innocent people.
Trump's eyes flashed. Innocent? Listen, pal, if you're against me, you're guilty. This is war.
He stood up, leaning forward across the table.
I want every one of these bastards hunted down. And if we have to burn the Constitution to do it, so be it.
A tense silence settled over the room.
Then DeSantis nodded. We'll make it happen. Trump leaned back, smirking. And one more thing. He turned to a nearby military aide. From this moment forward, the United States is under martial law.
11:30 p.m., Federal Protection Service Headquarters, Virginia. The FPS Command Center was a hive of activity. Operators sat at rows of monitors, watching live drone feeds over American cities. The first phase of Trump's crackdown had begun. Seattle, armored vehicles rolled through the streets, enforcing a strict curfew. Atlanta, hundreds of suspected Real USA sympathizers were rounded up. Los Angeles, SWAT teams raided an independent news station, shutting down their live broadcast. FPS Director Elliot Graves stood at the front of the room, barking orders.
Neural net is already flagging names. We're foreseeing clusters of suspicious activity in Portland, Austin, and Philadelphia. One of his analysts, Maya Hendricks, looked up from her screen. Sir, we've just traced a real U.S. safe house, Philadelphia. Encrypted satellite calls originated from an abandoned warehouse.
Graves' eyes narrowed. Send a team, now.
Philadelphia, real USA safe house, 12:15 a.m. Jennifer Cape didn't flinch when she saw the breaking news alert flash across the screen. Martial law declared. Mass arrests underway. She exhaled slowly, turning to Paul and Alistair. This is exactly what we needed.
Paul adjusted his glasses. They're going to start arresting innocent civilians. Public outrage will explode. Alistair smirked. Trump's overplayed his hand. Classic dictator mistake. Jennifer nodded. But we have bigger problems. They just flagged our satellite calls. Paul's face paled. They know we're here?
Jennifer tapped her earpiece. We have 5 minutes. Everyone, evacuate. The real USA operatives moved with military precision. Laptops were wiped, weapons packed, escape routes activated. As Jennifer stepped toward the door, she turned back one last time. Let's see how far Trump is willing to go. Philadelphia, FPS strike team, 12:20 a.m. A convoy of black SUVs screeched to a stop outside the warehouse. FPS agents poured out, rifles raised. Graves was in the lead, his pistol drawn. He clicked his radio. Move in. Take them alive if possible. The agents breached the front door, storming inside, only to find nothing. The warehouse was empty, except for a single device sitting in the center of the room. A timer ticked down on a digital screen. Row 4.
Graves' eyes widened. Get down! Nice try.
Chapter 4. The next target. Washington, D.C., the White House, 7:30 a.m. The Oval Office felt suffocating. Trump stood with his arms crossed, staring at a massive screen displaying a looped replay of the explosion in Philadelphia. FPS Director Elliot Graves stood nearby, his left arm in a makeshift sling, his face still streaked with soot from the failed raid.
They were one step ahead of us, he muttered, shifting his weight uncomfortably. We lost 12 men.
Trump gritted his teeth. And I don't care about 12 losers, he pointed at the screen. What I care about is that some nerdy college girl just made us look like a bunch of morons.
He turned to Elon Musk, who was calmly sipping black coffee.
Elon, where the hell is my list of names?
Musk barely blinked. We've already flagged over 200,000 individuals with potential ties to real USA. The AI is refining the list as we speak.
Trump grinned, his face lighting up. 200,000, that's beautiful. Start rounding them up.
Graves hesitated. Sir, if we arrest that many people, the public will riot.
Trump snapped his fingers at his press secretary. Put out a statement. Say these people are terrorists. Call it Operation American Justice. He turned to Musk again. And where the hell is Jennifer Cape?
Musk exhaled slowly. We still can't pinpoint her location. She's gone dark.
Trump's face twisted in fury. Find her, and when you do, kill her.
Real USA Underground HQ, 9:15 a.m. Deep beneath an abandoned textile factory in Pennsylvania, Jennifer Cape sat cross-legged on the concrete floor, staring at a pile of documents in front of her.
Alistair leaned over her shoulder. So this is it? Jennifer nodded. The financial records of Trump's secret Gaza deal.
Paul, sitting at a nearby computer, whistled. This is huge. He tapped a few keys, bringing up the digital copies. $20 billion in offshore accounts. Wire transfers between Trump-controlled shell corporations and Netanyahu's government. Israeli contractors paid in advance for relocation services in Gaza.
Jennifer clenched her jaw. This isn't just corruption, it's genocide for profit. Alistair sighed. We leak this, and the global backlash could be worse than the bombings. Jennifer stood up, eyes blazing. Exactly. Paul grinned. So where are we sending it? Jennifer turned to a whiteboard covered in a dozen potential media outlets, but she already knew the answer. The Guardian.
London, The Guardian headquarters, 3 p.m. GMT. Editor-in-Chief Miriam Cross scrolled through the files, her face turning pale. This is, she whispered, this is the biggest political scandal in U.S. history.
Her assistant hesitated. Do we run it?
Miriam exhaled sharply, then nodded. Get it published, now. Global news coverage, 5:30 p.m. EST. Within minutes of publication, the world exploded in outrage. CNN breaking, leaked documents expose Trump-Netanyahu Gaza conspiracy. BBC, Trump's secret Gaza deal, genocide for profit. Al Jazeera, U.S. president accused of ethnic cleansing in shocking report. Social media erupted. The hashtag #TrumpWarCriminal trended worldwide. Trump watched in horror from the White House as the news played on every single channel. Even Fox News couldn't spin it.
Sean Hannity's voice wavered as he tried to downplay the leak. Well, folks, I think we need to wait for official statements.
Trump's phone buzzed. It was a call from Netanyahu. Trump ignored it. For the first time in years, a sliver of doubt crept into his mind. Florida, Mar-a-Lago, 7 p.m. Ron DeSantis stormed through the halls of Trump's private estate, his face red with rage. "We have to shut down the protests now," he barked at a group of FPS officers. Through the bulletproof windows, a massive crowd of protesters was gathering. Signs read, "Gaza is not for sale. Trump equals war criminal. Real USA fights for us." An aide rushed up, breathless. "Sir, they're calling for mass resignations. The protests are spreading across every major city."
DeSantis clenched his fists. "We need to crush this."
Suddenly, a booming explosion shattered the night sky. Boom. The windows rattled violently and alarms blared. A plume of fire erupted from the south end of the estate. Mar-a-Lago had just been bombed. Jennifer's final message. At exactly 7:01 p.m., an anonymous video transmission was broadcast across all major news networks. Jennifer Cape appeared in shadow, her face partially obscured. Her voice was calm, steady, unshaken.
Donald Trump believes he can buy and sell human lives. He believes might is right. We are here to tell you, he is wrong. We will continue to strike his empire until he is removed from power. This is not an attack on the American people. It is an attack on corruption. If you stand against tyranny, you stand with us.
The video ended. Within minutes, over 80 million Americans had watched it. The protests doubled in size overnight. The White House, 7:45 p.m. Trump sat in silence. For the first time, he looked afraid. Musk leaned forward.
"This is getting out of control." Trump's lips curled into a snarl. "Then we take them out."
Chapter 5. The FBI's Revenge. Washington, D.C., the White House, 8 p.m. Trump's fingers drummed on the desk. His bloodshot eyes locked onto the looping replay of Mar-a-Lago burning. The walls of his Florida fortress had held, but the message was clear. They weren't untouchable. Across the room, FPS Director Elliot Graves stood with his arms folded, his face grim.
They're winning the public narrative, he admitted. People aren't seeing them as terrorists. They're seeing them as
"Heroes," Trump snapped. His fist slammed the desk.
Silent.
Musk leaned forward, his face emotionless. Jennifer Cape's video was broadcast in 180 countries. Even people who hated real USA are starting to admire her.
Trump gritted his teeth. "We end this now." He turned to Graves. "I want every real USA leader hunted down. I don't care what it takes. Find them. Kill them."
Graves nodded. "Already in motion, sir."
Trump exhaled, then leaned in closer. "I want Jennifer Cape's head on my desk. Make it happen."
Somewhere in Virginia, a betrayal in motion. Alistair sat in the glow of a flickering laptop screen, his pulse hammering in his throat. The document on the screen stared back at him. Transmission encrypted. Undisclosed message. "You were right. We'll offer you immunity." Final location drop now. His hands trembled as he reached for the keyboard. For weeks, he had fought alongside Jennifer, Paul, and the others. He had believed in the mission. But now he wasn't sure anymore. Trump's security state was closing in. Musk's AI was too powerful. There was no way real USA could win. His fingers hovered over the keys. All it took was one message, one final betrayal, and Jennifer Cape would be dead by morning. Real USA Underground HQ, 10:30 p.m. Jennifer stood with her arms crossed, staring at the expanding protests on the screen.
They want a revolution, Paul said quietly, watching the sea of people marching through New York, Chicago, San Francisco, D.C.
Jennifer nodded, but her expression was grim.
They also want blood.
Alistair leaned against the wall, silent. Jennifer glanced at him. Something wrong? A hesitation, nothing.
Paul tapped his keyboard. Neural net is getting smarter. We need to go deeper underground. We need to disappear. No, not yet. Paul's eyebrows shot up. Not yet.
She pointed at the screen, where a live news feed showed government forces dragging protesters into vans.
They're coming for the people now. Not just us. All of them.
Paul swallowed hard. Jennifer's voice was calm, but firm.
We don't go into hiding. We go on the offensive. Alistair finally spoke. His voice was tight. That's a mistake. Jennifer turned toward him, her head tilting slightly. Why?
Alistair hesitated, too long. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. Paul's fingers hovered over his keyboard. sensing the shift in tension. Alistair's throat went dry, because at that very moment, FPS was already on their way. 11 p.m., FBI SWAT deployment. The black helicopters hovered in absolute silence, their blades whispering death over the abandoned textile factory. Inside, FPS snipers locked their sights on the only escape routes. Graves sat in an armored vehicle, listening to the live audio feed from his agents.
Confirmed, a voice crackled in his earpiece. Target's inside. We go in 30 seconds. Graves leaned back, satisfied. The traitor had done their job. Jennifer Cape was trapped.
Real USA safe house, Jennifer's instincts screamed just before the lights flickered. Alistair shifted slightly, his jaw clenching. Paul looked up from his screen. Did we just... And then, all hell broke loose. Boom! A detonation ripped through the front entrance, sending debris flying. The walls cracked as armed FPS agents flooded in, weapons raised. Weapons raised. Jennifer dived behind cover as bullets shredded through furniture, sending splinters flying. Paul was already on the move, yanking a hard drive from his laptop as gunfire ripped through the monitors. Jennifer's breath was steady, controlled. She turned toward Alistair, who was still standing frozen in place. And in that moment, she knew.
You.
Alistair didn't deny it. Jennifer gritted her teeth.
Paul's eyes went wide. You sold us out. Alistair's face was ashen, but he didn't move.
Jennifer didn't waste time. She spun, grabbed Paul's arm, and ran. They bolted through a hidden exit, gunfire raining down behind them. 11:10 p.m. The chase begins. Jennifer and Paul burst into the alleyway, their boots pounding against wet pavement. A black SUV screeched to a stop in front of them. Jennifer reached for her weapon, but the window rolled down. Behind the wheel sat Maya Hendricks, an undercover FPS analyst who had secretly been feeding real USA intel.
Get in.
Jennifer and Paul didn't hesitate. The SUV roared forward, tires screeching as bullets tore through the air behind them. 11:30 p.m. FPS interrogation room. Alistair sat in the cold steel chair, his hands cuffed to the table. Graves stood across from him, arms folded.
You did your part, Graves said. Jennifer got away, but we'll find her.
Alistair's jaw was tight. Graves leaned in. You're lucky Trump wants Cape alive, he said. But if I were you, I'd pray we find her before she finds you. Alistair swallowed hard, because he knew Jennifer Cape wasn't going to run. She was going to end this. Chapter 6, The Last Stand. Undisclosed location. 2 a.m. Jennifer Cape sat in the back seat of the stolen black SUV, watching the streetlights blur past. The roads were nearly empty, but that wouldn't last. They had minutes, maybe an hour before FPS, and Trump's private army locked the city down. Paul was in the front seat, his fingers flying over his laptop, decrypting files stolen from their abandoned safe house. Maya Hendricks, the undercover FPS analyst, drove with one hand, her gun resting on her lap.
You need to disappear, Jennifer, Maya said without looking back. Jennifer's jaw tightened. No. Maya exhaled sharply. I just risked my career and my life getting you out of there. And I'm not running, Jennifer cut her off. Not this time. Paul glanced up from his screen. She's right, he said. We're past the point of hiding. This ends now.
Maya swerved onto a side street, pulling into the underground parking garage of a shut-down factory. She turned off the car and looked at Jennifer.
What's the plan? Jennifer took a deep breath. We take the war to Trump himself.
3 a.m. Safe house briefing room. A small group of real USA operatives gathered around Jennifer, silent but determined. Paul connected his laptop to a makeshift projector, bringing up the most sensitive data neural net had been hiding.
This, he said, pointing at the screen, is Musk's private AI hub. It's located inside a secret facility in Texas, deep under one of his SpaceX launch sites. Jennifer leaned forward. That's where the kill switch is. Maya frowned. Kill switch? Paul tapped the screen. NeuralNet has a failsafe built into its code. It was supposed to be classified until I found it. Jennifer's eyes burned. If we shut NeuralNet down, Trump loses his ability to track dissidents. He loses his most powerful weapon.
Alistair's betrayal had been a blow, but it hadn't broken them. Now, they had a chance to cripple Trump's empire for good. Jennifer stood, looking at each of them in turn.
We go in tomorrow night, we hit them hard, and when we do, she exhaled, this war ends.
The White House, 5:30 a.m. Trump was wide awake, pacing. Elon Musk sat calmly across from him, scrolling through neural net projections on his tablet.
We're close, Musk said. NeuralNet has flagged new locations where Jennifer Cape might be hiding. Trump's lips curled. Then let's send a team and end this. Musk sighed. Patience.
Trump snapped. Screw patience, they just bombed Mar-a-Lago. They exposed my Gaza deal. They've turned the people against me. I don't have time to wait.
Musk finally looked up. Then I assume you want the final contingency plan.
Trump stopped pacing. Musk's eyes were unreadable. If we can't find them, we burn the whole thing down. Meaning?
Musk leaned forward. Meaning we shut off the internet, suspend elections, and declare real USA an enemy of the state.
Trump was silent. Then he smiled.
Do it.
Texas, Neural Net Command Center, 9 p.m.s. The SpaceX facility in Texas looked like an ordinary corporate headquarters from the outside, but beneath it, a fortress. Neural Net's AI hub was buried deep underground, guarded by FPS agents, AI-controlled drones, and biometric security. And tonight, Real USA was coming for it. Jennifer crouched in the darkness, her earpiece buzzing with voices.
Paul's voice came through. We're in position. Maya, on a rooftop overlooking the site, whispered, FPS has patrols, but they don't know we're here.
10 p.m., the assault begins. The first explosion ripped through the south perimeter fence, a distraction. FPS agents rushed to respond, leaving gaps in security. Jennifer and her team slipped in from the north, their movements precise, military level. Inside the neural net hub, alarms blared. But it was already too late.
Paul sprinted to a server rack, plugging in a custom device. The screen flickered. Neural net override activated, final failsafe triggered. Shutdown in progress. Paul's breath hitched. It's working. Jennifer turned to the others. We hold this position until it's done.
Outside, FPS reinforcements were coming. This was going to be a fight, and Jennifer wasn't leaving without a victory. The White House, 10:15 p.m. Trump froze as every screen in the war room went dark. Musk's tablet flashed red.
Warning, neural net compromised AI shutdown initiated.
Musk's hands clenched into fists. They're inside. Trump's face went pale. And for the first time since this war began, he realized he might lose. Chapter 7, The Final Battle. Texas, Neural Net Command Center, 10:20 p.m. The lights inside the underground AI hub flickered violently as the neural net shutdown sequence ran its course. Paul stared at the screen, sweat dripping down his face. Warning, critical failure imminent. System shutdown, 78% complete. He turned to Jennifer. We just need a few more minutes.
Jennifer gritted her teeth, her grip tightening on her AR-15. Outside the reinforced doors, FPS forces were mobilizing. Jennifer pressed a hand to her earpiece. Maya, what's our window? Maya's voice came back sharp, urgent. Less than 5 minutes before we're overrun. You better have a way out. Jennifer's jaw clenched. There was no way out. Not this time.
The White House, 10:20 p.m. Trump was losing it.
Find them.
He roared at Musk, at Graves, at anyone who would listen.
Musk sat in silence, his hands steepled, watching as neural net continued its death spiral. Graves spoke into his radio. FPS teams, I want them eliminated. A reply crackled back, already in motion.
Trump's fists clenched. They think they can beat me? He laughed, a manic, hollow sound. Send everything. Burn that place to the ground.
Neural Net Hub, PM. Jennifer watched the security feed, tracking the FPS soldiers as they closed in. 30 seconds until breach, Paul muttered. Maya's voice came through the comms. They've got drones in the air, heat seekers. You need to move now.
Jennifer turned to her team. We hold the line. Paul swallowed hard. Jen, if we stay, we die. She nodded. I know.
No one moved. No one ran. They had all known the risks. Paul exhaled, then gave a small shaky grin.
Then let's make it count.
10:27 p.m. The breach. The FPS strike team moved in fast, aggressive, their rifles spitting fire. Jennifer and her operatives returned in kind. Bullets tore through the walls, sparks flying as metal ripped apart. Maya, still positioned on a nearby rooftop, took out 2 FPS snipers with precision shots. Paul ducked behind a console, firing blind as the neural net shutdown reached 90%. Jennifer moved with purpose, taking out 3 agents with well-placed shots. But they kept coming. More FPS reinforcements poured in, shields up, rifles blazing. Jennifer's clip ran dry. Paul's laptop beeped. Shutdown. 98%. Jennifer reloaded. Breath shaking, Paul looked up at her. They both knew. This was the end. 10:30 p.m. The last stand. The room was on fire, thick smoke choking the air. Paul's laptop flashed red. Neural net, offline, total system failure. He let out a hysterical laugh. We did it.
Jennifer smiled. Yeah.
Then the final breach came. FPS stormed in, Jennifer raised her weapon, and the world went black. The White House, 10:35 p.m. The screens all went dead. Musk's tablet shut off. The neural net servers were silent. For the first time in years, Trump had no control. His eyes widened as he realized the enormity of what had just happened. Outside the White House, Washington, D.C. was on fire. Millions had taken to the streets. Trump's empire was crumbling. Graves looked pale. Musk's face was unreadable. And Trump finally looked afraid. The aftermath. The next 48 hours were chaos. Protests exploded nationwide. State governments began breaking from federal control. The military refused Trump's orders. Congress declared Trump unfit to rule. By midnight, the United States was in open rebellion. And by the next morning, Donald J. Trump was no longer president. Epilogue. 1 week later. Jennifer Cape opened her eyes to blinding hospital lights. Her body ached. Her arm was wrapped in bandages. Paul sat in a chair next to her bed, looking exhausted but alive. She tried to speak, but her voice was a rasp.
Paul smiled weakly. We won.
Jennifer let out a small, broken laugh. Then she closed her eyes, and for the first time in years, she slept. End of Book 1.